a toddler dressed as a jihadi with the ISIS flag behind him is encouraged to behead his teddy bear. The disturbing scene spread through social media, exposing the indoctrination of children inside the ISIS capital of Raqqa, Syria. Boys as young as 5 years old in an ISIS camp training for the group's signature executions.
In this camp, they try to teach them the ideology of ISIS. They sent them to bomb themselves. They used them to carry weapons, medical stuff in the clashes. So it's so horrible for the children.
So basically they're raising little jihadis from a small age.
Yeah.
Videos smuggled out of the ISIS stronghold and used by media outlets like CNN are the only way to see what life is like under extremist rule. ISIS has banned journalists, replacing them with slick propaganda glamorizing life in the so-called Islamic State. But a dozen activists are pulling back the curtain on the horrors of ISIS rule in their small city, once among Syria's most liberal. They call themselves Raqqa is being slaughtered silently.
ISIS started to execute, to kill, and do all these human rights violations in Raqqa, and no one did anything for the city. No one even heard about it. So we did our campaign trying to put the attention on our city, to maybe someone will do something to the city.
The photos and images they smuggle out, a lifeline to the outside world.
You can say no life in Raqqa. You can't do anything. No shops, university, no schools, nothing to do. And everything is expensive.
It sounds like hell.
Yeah.
One woman snuck a camera under her veil, risking her life to film this video depicting ISIS' brutal treatment of women.
They can't go outside alone. If she wanna go outside, she should go with the husband, father, brother, or whatever, and she should cover all herself. The women in Raqqa or in ISIS areas are nothing. Just they use them only to do sex, to buy and sell the Yazidi girls.
So basically they're making them prostitutes.
Yeah.
Abdulaziz al-Hamza was covering clashes between ISIS and the Free Syrian Army when ISIS stormed his house. He managed to escape the country and now manages the group's social media.
ISIS arrested one of our reporters. They checked his laptop and they found our campaign logo. And after 3 weeks, they executed him in a public square.
Last month, one of their members working in Turkey was beheaded.
Why are you journalists showing what's going on in Raqqa instead of being fighters killing ISIS fighters?
If you will defeat ISIS and you didn't defeat the ideology of ISIS, maybe after 2 months or 3 months or years you will find a new ISIS.
The FDA is just approving the sale of genetically modified salmon, saying there are no, quote, biologically relevant differences in the nutritional profile, and that genetically modified food will be going on store shelves without a GMO label.
Forcing people to put things into their body that they're not aware of.
Stephanie Stewart is general manager at Chuck's Natural Field Market, a store specializing in organic, non-genetically modified foods. Her main problem with this new fish is the lack of label.
If they want to make it, then they can, but at least give people the opportunity and the chance to choose what they want to put into their body.
Dubbed Frankenfish by critics, the new salmon is designed to grow twice as fast as normal fish, and it eats about 25% less fish food. Aqua Bounty, the company that developed it, says it tastes and smells just like normal farm-raised salmon, which, according to one fishmonger, is where much of our salmon comes from anyway. Still, he believes a GMO label should be included.
The big issue with GMO is the unintended or the unseen effects that could occur.
That new fish could be on shelves in the amount of time it takes to grow, just 2 years.
The FDA should stay out of some of this stuff to where we get all natural wild fish, even all the way down to the cereals and all that. But they're genetically enhancing. It's not good.
More than 60 grocery retail chains have already committed to not selling GMO salmon, despite the fact that the FDA has now approved it. and consumers have said they won't eat it. The FDA's approval is incredibly disappointing. The approval was irresponsible and flawed. And despite that approval, we know that there is no room on the market for this GMO salmon. The FDA's approval ignored ample and robust sound science, which suggests that the GMO salmon is environmentally harmful and could cause health problems as well.
Several hundred people gathered over the weekend to protest the new Mormon LGBT policy. The policy bans baptisms for children living with gay parents until they turn 18 and makes gay marriage a sin worthy of expulsion. More than 1,500 protesters handed in letters of resignation from the Mormon faith, which will remove their names from the faith's membership rolls. Most had already stopped attending church years ago, but they wanted to officially cut ties with the religion.
Ex-Subway spokesperson Jared Fogle will spend the next 15 years behind bars after pleading guilty to sex crimes.
A federal judge issued the sentence after listening to 3 hours of testimony. Crime-Sider's Graham Cates is here. Graham, in the plea deal, the lawyers agreed to a maximum of 12 years, but the judge went even higher than that. Did the judge explain why she decided to give him even more time?
Yes, she said basically that agreement didn't really meet the severity of his crimes. She said that they were too serious. And she said that basically he needs to spend more time in prison, more time getting treatment. And she specifically noted the fact that he knew some of the victims, some of the people who were in videos, these children, that he had at his home.
Now, he did testify on his own behalf, and we have a quote that we can share with you. He said, "At the time, I truly did not understand what I was doing, as well as the consequences of my actions. At the time, I thought that because I was paying them, it was okay."
A La Mesa woman says that she is scarred for life.
She talked only to 10 News reporter Matt Mendez about the man who watched her as she meditated.
It's very peaceful, as you can see. There's not a lot of people around.
The hike to Black's Beach is normally therapeutic for Christina Cam. She likes to watch the ocean and meditate.
It helps to center me and bring me back down to reality.
But Saturday afternoon, her outdoor adventure turned from relaxing to criminal.
It's a very creepy experience.
Just 5 minutes into her meditation,
An older woman came up to me and said, I just want to let you know that the guy behind you is jacking off. And sure enough, I turned around and there he was.
Cam says the guy was hiding behind a bush like this one and kept doing it even after they made eye contact.
And it wasn't until we followed after him that he got his stuff and started hiking up the trail quickly.
A large crowd has gathered in the streets of Minneapolis to protest the shooting death of Jamar Clark. The 24-year-old was unarmed when he was shot by police Sunday. He died from his wounds the next day. The police union says Clark reached for an officer's gun during an altercation. Videos exist of the incident, but investigators have not released them, citing the ongoing investigation. And now protesters are demanding footage of the shooting be released. They say they won't stop protesting until they see the video. As for the 2 officers involved in Clark's death, they're on paid administrative leave.
We traveled by boat to the Coast Guard cutter Berthoff, 7 miles off the coast of San Diego. On board, we found dozens of pallets piled high with 50,000 pounds of cocaine. The Coast Guard crew spent the last 3 months chasing down drug smuggling boats off the coast of Central and South America, including this makeshift submarine. The boarding team pried open the hatch and found more than $200 million of cocaine stashed inside.
And the more resources we can apply, the more we can stop, absolutely.
Laura Collins is captain of the Coast Guard cutter.
What's it like when you get that intel and all of a sudden you get eyes on one of those semi-submersibles?
It's thrilling. I mean, it's just completely exciting. It's exactly what we train for. It's exactly why we wear the uniform. So it's kind of like everything coming together. It feels great.
This video from the Coast Guard shows the cramped quarters inside a drug sub. Every space is packed with as much cocaine as possible.
This is what $750 million worth of cocaine looks like, and that's just wholesale value. On the street, it's worth a lot more.
It's been a record year for the Coast Guard. Working with the military and U.S. Customs, they've seized more cocaine in the Pacific than the last 3 years combined. Commandant Paul Zunkuft says the reason it's smuggled is simple economics.
When you look at the business case of what it takes to produce 1 kilo
of cocaine, about $2,000 in Colombia. That same kilo sells for $25,000 here in the United States.
Afuera! Afuera! When the smugglers are caught, the Coast Guard says they rarely put up a fight. And so far, they've arrested nearly 700 of them.
Now, hospitals have long been protected under international human rights law and the Geneva Convention. So why are they coming under attack now? CCTV's Jessica Stone has insight.
This video shows fires still burning at this Doctors Without Borders hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan. According to the agency, at least 30 people were killed in a U.S. airstrike last month. Some bodies are still unidentified. The American Defense Department is investigating.
Unfortunately, hospitals around the world are a target. They are a target as well as ambulances are, healthcare providers, sometimes patients.
We reached Bruce Chauvin of the International Red Cross and Red Crescent by Skype in Geneva. In a recent study of roughly 2,400 recorded incidents over a 2-year period, the ICRC found that about 1/3 of hospital attacks were intentional, and a majority were perpetrated by forces connected to a national government.
In recent years, we've seen what we think is an increase in these kinds of violations, such that we're starting to talk about something very frightening, which is what we're calling a new normal, which is governments, especially militaries and sometimes armed opposition groups, think that it's okay to kill patients, to enter hospitals with weapons, to bomb them.
Susanna Sirkin with Physicians for Human Rights has been monitoring hospital attacks for decades in places like Bosnia and Somalia. Just this week, she says, her organization confirmed 10 Russian government attacks in Syria in October. She says nearly 330 hospitals have been hit over the 4-year civil war, and in Aleppo, 95% of the doctors have fled.
The government of Syria is intentionally bombing and targeting hospitals because, from its point of view, the enemy is an entire portion of their populations. Increasingly, civilians and civilian infrastructure has become the object of attack. And one reason that it's continuing is that there has not been any accountability for these crimes. We have not seen perpetrators of these sorts of crimes punished under international law, in international courts, and we believe very strongly that that's what needs to start to happen now.
The International Red Cross and Red Crescent has released this video to underscore the toll hospital attacks take on medical providers and their patients.
Spoon for food. I make instruments.
The film shows doctors bringing their operations out of the hospital and into basements, away from bombs and bullets. In some places, like Afghanistan, just getting to the hospital can be deadly. Chauvin says doctors must operate hospitals as a weapons-free zone and remain impartial in how they triage patients.